All right, what's up, guys? And we are a little behind on time. Those that find it, they'll find it. But if people don't get notification, then they are not going to know we are live. And so I thought to bring up a subject before we do a Q&A. We're still going to continue with the 600 laws as we started before the Easter. And I think we got to actually do how many? Did we do one study? I think we did one study on the Easter. I think I can't remember. Okay, I think because I'm doing lives between Facebook and YouTube, sometimes I forget which studies have I done here, which I have not, because they are all different. And so, if you didn't know, there are lives that I do on Facebook that are not these ones here. And so, like I was studying another subject that I'm gonna do later, and so on there, which is not here. So two different platforms, two different audiences, two different studies, and so there are very famous verses in the Bible. I want to talk about one particular one when it comes to Machankura Shmone. And so I wanted just to talk about one particular study, one particular subject within the line of money and giving and so forth. Now, while we are at it, studying that particular subject, I just want to check something here. I'm going to bring up verses, then we can do a Q&A after. Ne? And so I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about this one because this is quite an interesting one. How people that preach a certain type of a gospel can choose one verse and literally not like the next verse. Okay, and so I wanted to talk about that so that we can go over there. And check it out. So, if you're not aware about this particular verse that I'm talking about, Corinthians, 2 Corinthians chapter number 9, verse 6 that they like, but don't like verse 7. And so you might be wondering, what is in verse 7 that does not comply with the idea in verse 6? Now, the way they deal with this one is the way they deal with all theological issues. Ignore it. They do not interpret it into, okay? They don't interpret it into what the verse would mean outside of their understanding. They would rather interpret it in to their understanding by avoiding it. And so that's how they deal with everything. You will see it when they study a certain subject, maybe a subject about rapture. You may notice there's a group of people that don't like the subject of rapture. They say the word is not there, blah, 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 blah. You know, people always, they always have their own thing. And so, even in that subject, they will take one verse and ignore the other verse. They like verses that talk about if you don't endure to the end. They like verses like that because enduring to the end implies that they are faithful. They believe themselves that they're going to be faithful to the end. So they believe that we go through the tribulation. The same way Egypt went through the flood, we go through the tribulation. You see, they have a very faulty way of thinking. They have a very faulty way of thinking because they feel like because we apply this like this, it should apply like this. This should be equal to this. Very faulty way of looking at the scripture instead of interpreting it the way it appears. Okay, and so they don't like verses about rapture, even though there are many verses about rapture. Okay, when they talks about two people being at the mill, two grinding at the mill, one is taken, one is left, they don't like that. They don't want to have to deal with the normal aspect of that verse. Okay, because that verse does not sound like endurance. So they make that verse either say that verse is about during the tribulation, but in the tribulation, do you think you will have time to be busy in the mill? someone is at the rooftop, someone is what. Some people will be getting married, some people. So this idea that Matthew chapter number 24 puts out, it actually fits pre-tribulation rapture, that we go here before Jesus come, before the second coming. Okay, so they don't like it because they don't want to have to factor in the areas of their faults, and so this verse here, how they deal with this verse is how they deal with every other teaching. If you wonder how can someone be wrong on so many issues, it's because they have one method of analysis when it comes to verses. If they don't understand it, they just skip it. And so the rest of us, we don't skip. We read the whole thing, try to get the context. And even when we have the context, we'll still consult a friend or two about one or two things inside the verse. And so it's healthy for us to do so in that way. That's why I wanted to show you this particular verse, because I thought it was very much poetry. I thought it was poetry, the way they hate one aspect and love the other. Now, I want to put out this thing here. And let me put it like that. Now, I'm going to be here, say, for an hour, and then we can cool it off. And then next week, we will be a little bit more hard at it, maybe at an hour 30, because then I want us to go back into studying the 600. We are not done with those, as how do they fit into the New Testament, and how the laws were actually rigged into as the standard that God had put forward, not necessarily something that mankind being able to keep that one. You completely will miss it. All right, I want to pin this comment here. I want to pin the Colin comment, and then we can go to the verse. So remember that particular point, how they deal with everything else. It's how they will deal with something like this. How do they deal with subject of losing salvation? If you think about that one, the same way they skip certain verses, they will skip verses where he says, those that the Lord has given him, he will lose none. So they will mean, he doesn't lose. Like there's a documentary, I'm going to do a breakdown of it this coming week. There's a new documentary where they've actually, guys, amazing. They've released a documentary talking about people can lose salvation. That's how dedicated these people are. You think these people are joking? No. I don't know if the devil is talking behind their ear. Why do they want people to doubt salvation? Because that's all it does. If you're telling people that they're going to lose salvation, all you bring is doubt. And that doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever. But I'll do the breakdown on that one. But this is the most important thing. They deal with verses unjustly. So when the verse says he doesn't lose any, they say, he doesn't lose you, but that doesn't mean that you won't be lost. And I'm like, what's wrong with these people? How devilish do you have to be to twist it? If God can't lose you, what about you? But anyways, some people are really just that far gone. But anyways, so let's go on with thingy. Astandi says down in the comment section, says hello, leadership and fellow Bereans leadership. Brother Denny says good evening, leaders. And then he says Massa. Huh? Masalan, which one is that one? Leadership. Is that Arabic? Oh, mashallah. Oh, mashallah. Is it mashallah or masala? I think, I don't know if it's a different language. So what does the verse say? Remember, the subject matter on this particular verse is money. And when money gets involved, it gets quickly entangled. Okay? It gets very quickly entangled. So I want to present you with the verse so you can see what the verse actually says. So you can see what the verse actually says. Okay. All right. So this is the present. Let me get you seeing the screen. Let me share the screen with y'all. Let me see if you can see it. And then I can close off this thing here. All right. So the verse says, let's get in a little bit there. Whosoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. Whosoever sows generously will also reap generously. And then the quotation tells you what particular portion of the verse is he reading, okay, or is he quoting from. Now, because this verse is so beloved, because it's so beloved among charlatan, fellow members, if you're a member of the charlatan world, or you haven't renewed your membership. There are some who are of such a kind. They have not renewed. They are part of it, but they have not renewed their status. That side, their membership card expired very recently in Easter. It will renew in June. And so we have such people. The verse says, those who sow sparingly will reap sparingly. And those that sow. Now, why do they like this part of the verse, but don't like the next part of the verse? You can guess with me what the next part of the verse actually says. Just think about it. Just think about what do you think the next verse says? Literally the next verse. So remember, the one we just read is 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6. Ne? Verse number 7, Bazalwane, I kid you not. Verse 7 literally says, every man according as he has purposed in his heart. So let him give. Not grudgingly. No. Hey, you see this part? You see this part there? See this part here? Nor of necessity. Sometimes people will cry and what and all those things, and they make it a justified reason why people should have given to that cause. Because there was either tears or there was an emergency. Not that it's not important, it is important. But that is not the basis of why someone do it. Yeah, that's what the verse says. I see him. It's the verse. Nor of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver, not grudgingly. So the cheerfulness is this grudgingly over here, okay? It's attaching it to that particular portion of the verse. Now, someone might think, no, Ricky manipulated this one. Let's say 6. And then we go to Bible Hub, right? We go to Bible Hub. So the context verse for it, so that I can give the context verse. Now, I want to show also, just want to kind of like small reminder here. After these ones, after I show you these particular verses, what I want to do is I want to show you that this had been the intention that God had all the way from the Old Testament. Don't know what, I'll show you. This had been the intention, but people have manipulated this or they fit it in. Remember when Jesus comes and he flogs the people in the temple? What is the issue? My house shall be the house of prayer. The emphasis and focus should be us towards God. Not be money, not be this, not be that. The entire churches that frame themselves around that entire idea. If you saw the video that we were talking about, Fikile Mbalula going to that church, I don't know what church that was. Yeah, that was the theme. Is that if you are preaching messages that are very worldly in nature, those people are likely not to hear the message of the gospel. Same thing that we said about Black Coffee going to church, if you guys remember that. Right. So let's go back into that to the rest of the portion of that verse. So you will notice here, the verse puts it. Why does it not want to appear in its space properly? All right. So remember the sowing sparingly thingy appears in the previous, right? And so it creates a narrative, or it allows them to create a narrative without having to deal with the rest of the context. So what does the context say? So I thought it was necessary to urge the brothers to visit you beforehand and make arrangements for the bountiful gifts you had promised. This way, you had promised this way. Your gifts will be prepared generously and not begrudgingly. So right here, I was talking about people about to, okay. So there was that context of that was about to think it. These people were about we wanted to give. He says, remember, okay, remember this. Whosoever sows sparingly. So when he quotes the verse, the particular portion from, remember, when we read that part, it said he was quoting Proverbs, right? So he quoted the Bible in relation to something that was happening. These people had given bountifully. These people had given without sorrow. These people had given out of a pure decision that they had made. They were not manipulated into it. So the previous verse, verse 5 being, gives you that context, okay? They don't even like reading the full context here. They only jump into whosoever sows sparingly will reap sparingly. Whosoever sows sparingly will reap generously. They just love that portion. But they don't want to deal with the context. The context was that these people had decided themselves to give a certain portion. Paul only quotes the verse in relation to the actions that that the brethren had done. Notice, he wasn't making an instruction, a new instruction. He was quoting as a reference point. So when he quotes as a reference point, then he brings this part, verse 7. Each shall give as he has decided. Okay, each one should give what he has decided in his heart to give. For God loves a cheerful giver. So the cheerful giver was totally expressed by how they had generously given. He wasn't making a new. He was actually responding to how the brethren had responded to the call of giving at that point. You can see why they don't love the context of it. You can clearly see why they don't love the context of it, because when you read the full context, you see Paul is responding to the generosity in verse 5. When he talks about the sparingly, generously, generously sowing, they decided to give it. It's not this one where you say, those who want to give 400, come forward. Those who want to give 1,000, come here, stand here. These ones are giving 400. Those who want to give. No, it wasn't that. The people had decided themselves what they were going to give. When they gave, he quotes the verse. All right. And I'm a child of my mother. I say I'm a child of my mother because I have a tendency of over-explaining. And so the verse makes it very clear. The intention is verse 7. Because each must give, go back there, each must give as he has decided in his heart. The reason why they don't like verse 5 and 7 is that it brings the context of the generosity of the people in Corinth. Okay? So they love quoting that part, the blue part there. They love quoting sparingly, generously, because this one, it motivates you to pop out money. But then this one, verse 7, it gives you the liberty to say, Actually, if you read it further, I think it was the ending of 7. So if we go to the full context of the verse, I'm going to show you verses actually in the Old Testament that actually align with what this verse says to show that let me just put myself in full screen. Okay. Someone might think, okay, so you're saying Paul was bringing a new rule. No. When Paul says each must give as he has decided in his heart, because he knows you are going to judge on the basis of your resources. It's not this idea that, okay, give 10,000 and then you are responding to that. As you have decided in your heart, it is decided by your resources, what you have in your resources. The verse actually in the full context actually goes on to say that. Now, let's go back to the full context. Hey, when we say context matters, it's a very important thing. It's a crime in Christianity. It's a crime. But Zexi, they'll quote you have verses. So he says, each one should give what he has decided in his heart, not out of regret. That's not the reason. Ricky comes here, hey, Bazalani, I don't have a place to stay. That's not the reason why you give the money. Okay? No. You give because you have decided this is what I want to give. If I came here and I said, hey, guys, the rent is 4,000. What are we saying? It doesn't mean you go now back and you start thinking, okay, compared to the 6,000 that's needed for Ricky to have rent. It's an example. Don't take that literal. Compared to that example, how much must I give? Okay, if I've given, that's what you know what you do. If you decided to give 5 rand, 5 rand is enough. It has nothing to do. So it is not out of regret. Now, this will tell you why they don't like Vasalani, like, Jesus Christ. This is why they don't like verse 7, because verse 7 has too much into it. Not out of regret. Out of regret, that thing, we have a building fund. The building fund has been raising money for 3 years. How can we not finish that? That is not the reason why we are giving. That's not how we give money in church. It's not how it works. Not out of compulsion. This one is English. This one is English. So let's go here. Compulsive behavior. It says the action or state of forcing, being forced to do something, constrain. The payment was made under there you have it. Under compulsion. It means I was not given an option. I had to make it and was forced. No. We must finish the building project this year. We must finish it. If everyone here, the pastor even starts calculating your pockets. Some people are wicked. The pastor starts calculating people's pockets. How do we have, that thing of how do we have 20 people here who are working and we don't have this money? If you all popped out 1,000 rand, we would all have the money for building the foundation. The pastor sits at home and calculates people's pocket. Wickedness. Yeah, you have no business in my pocket. What do you want there? The verse literally restricts for such a thing. So if a pastor came, it's not by force. So in case you are wondering, not by compulsion. So there it is. Not of regret, not of compulsion. For God loves a cheerful giver. Meaning, I have decided to give so far. So this is how they should do church. Now, I do know, some people, they say that you must teach how to give. I am not one who believes that. You can't teach giving. The Bible does say teach generosity. So I am one who does believe in the actions of others, inspiring others. Do you get me? Yeah, I know that this can be, it's a twofold thing. It's a two double-edged sword. Some people actually, like it, you've heard it said by Christ Embassy members, that they actually do that. What they do is they fake transactions. So they fake that people are giving big money so that you feel like you have to give big money. So they fake the big transactions so that others. Now, I'm giving that example in line with people like your, what's his name? My head is too. The gentleman on Facebook who gives money to people, the Christian guy who covers his face. I forgot. How do I forget? I forgot his name. But you will see the actions of the gentleman. They do inspire other people to say, you know what? I like that. I love what that generosity kind of instructs, or it kind of, yes, BI Pagat, Danke leadership. So that's why you won't hear me talk against BI Pagat's thing. He's hidden his identity. It's not like some of these people who come out here and they'll be just publishing, yeah, we are giving this much. I'm giving 200,000. We're not looking down on his 200,000, but we are saying that because he has not grown into generosity. Do you see that? Figula has not grown into generosity, so he feels the need to state it because he knows it will gain him favor with you. It will stick in your head. 200,000. You are thinking it's my year's salary. You see? So he does it to manipulate how we feel about him. We are clear on that. There's no. It's not like he was doing the church. No. It's not like he believes in the church is doing good. Where was he all these years when he was serving in public office? We've never seen him in any church. At this one time, he goes there because ANC is in a bad light. He goes to church. All of them, they are going to church. All of them, they are all going to church when they know things are going west. So he has not grown into generosity. But with BI Pagati, you can tell it is a place from it is out of the place of generosity. That's why he even hides his face. He's not interested in anyone seeing his face. He's not interested. So he goes and so it inspires an area of generosity out of you. You see? It's when we see things like that we started the Bible giveaways on the channel, because it inspires that, because you know what it feels like. For me, Bibles were the best gift because it was something that I myself was passionate about. It was something that, I remember, guys, I worked, I can't remember how many weekends. There were these small little jobs, construction jobs. I still even have the pictures. And we went to work there. And I was saving to get one Bible. I wanted a King James Bible. I was tired of my mom's Good News Bible. I was tired because in theology, you are studying. People read with King James in theology. There's no good news. My mom had a Good News Bible. And so I saved. And I think the Bible that I ended up getting was like $300. It was a King James Bible. It was a very nice Bible. But it cost me so much. So I know what it is like having a nice Bible, So that's why it is the first place of my response. Give nice Bibles. I didn't give simple cheap Bibles. I was not giving 20 rand Bibles. I gave something that I myself wanted. I even gave you the Bible that I wanted to keep. Which one was that? The Hebrew and that Hebrew Bible. What is that one? The Hebrew and Greek keyword Bible. The most expensive Bible that I ever bought. I spent forever and I never used it. I never used it until the day we sing it. And so it inspires generosity. I believe generosity is inspired. I believe that. But also the actions of others do inspire. Okay? But also when you highlight, that's why I said on Facebook that I want to do the study on favor, the favor subject. Because sometimes people make a very big deal out of it. But then in the nutshell, it is actually a very practical thing. When you are growing in your walk with God, you will start to have people fall next to you. Not our Ricky. Ricky is online. You don't know Ricky. I'm talking about your personal life. You have people right next to your personal life. If you come to me and you say, Ricky, please borrow me 3,000. I don't know you. Do you think that's a fair thing to ask me? You know, because I don't know you, right? But there are people that when you were growing in your success, in your journey, in your career path and stuff, there are people you made friends with who would be able to trust you with that. Personally, I have friends like that who I was growing with. And when I look back and I point back and I can say, hey, man, you know, God puts people in front of people. God puts people who you grow with. For some people, because they have such a nasty personality or a nasty attitude, they end up not having such people. I understand that there is most people who are introverted, they're very indoor people, they have not made much interactions. But if you look back into your life, you will understand what I mean. You tend to have people whom you can, you know, when there was a time where you could ask 200. Hey man, my friend, can you borrow me 200? And then you grow. There is now a point where you can ask 2,000 from your friend. And then as you guys all grow, there's a point where you can say, hey man, you know, I've started the year very badly. Can you borrow me 7,000? You know, those are the kind of friends you might have next to you. That's favor. That's what the Bible actually means when it says that he grew in wisdom and favor with men. That's what it means. It means that next to you, you find people that are in your circle that grow with you. I'm not talking about leeches. Ne? I'm totally against leeches. If you don't, you don't know what I mean by leeches. Are people that actually drain than bring. Okay. Yes, the Bible does tell us how to treat such individuals, people that are leeches, people that don't bring anything. The Bible tells us such a situation or such an individual, okay, should not eat. Now, the Bible is not saying don't give them food. The Bible is telling you how you should get them into a place of being productive. Sometimes, you know, there's a lady that I buy food from. At one point, she was illustrating how her husband came to a point when he was jobless, he became very stuck. Like the man was not thinking, like he couldn't think of what to do, what actions to take. She says it took him time when he saw her going out and doing things that it actually woken that thing up for him to know which direction to take. So you do have such, né? So consider your situation. Don't be okay, don't be copying and pasting. You know, the same way we were talking about the video about the pastor being carried, you know, it's their situation. You know, they understand each other like that. You know, we might not, we'll be like, why isn't the man carried? But it's their situation. It fits them, it grows them, it builds them. That's the most important thing. But for some people, they have not grown with anyone. As a matter of fact, they cut off everyone. And so as a result, they don't have any escape, or they don't have any place of escape. That's why there's so much depression, because people have cut themselves off from so much of a social life in their, so they don't know what we mean when we say to have favor with men. They don't know what that means. If I look at myself, where I mean, in my life, all my friends are like that or like that. It's like we are walking the same. I don't know if you get me. Ne? I don't know if you get me. It's like we are all doing the same thing. Of course, they are doing their own thing. Others are in business, others are in careers. But it's like we are all going like this. If you have people like that, you will never be envious, I'm telling you. Because these are people you pray for. These are people that you know. They got your back. And so this aspect, now that's the reason why I want to do that study, because that study shows you that a lot of the things when it comes to relationship have been reverted into church, and they have nothing to do with church. When the Bible talks about having favor with men, it's not talking about church. It's talking about general. I saw this thing when you remember that trip that I took when I went to Zim, when we were in the bus, when people were being searched, you know, we must have gotten like 10, 20 searches. There were places where when they saw me, some of the police, they would say, hey, Mr. Church. He knew me from the channel. And they're like, oh, Mr. Church. And so favor with my, it's a simple thing like that. It doesn't mean that they see me as innocent, but it's just that look. I don't know how to say it. It's a very funny thing. They just recognize you and they know you to be that guy as a, I don't know, high reverence. They have high reverence. You can kind of put it like that. The same way we see pastors. When you see a pastor, hey, men of God, how are you? Hey, God is blessing us. Oh, we are doing well. And you feel like just giving them a testimony, motivate them with, yeah, you are doing a good job. That has been stripped. That's what that study is going to be about. You see that in the subject matter of Timothy and Eunice, his grandmother. Paul talks about the blessing that his grandmother had prayed for onto him. So you will see right there that the blessing was conferred by the family or by a family member. Paul literally says he is just confirming it. And so now we don't have that. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that those who are homeless can't have that. Having a person who is a fatherly figure over you, that person can still do that. That's why when you see people who are terrible teachers, we are very quick to rebuke them, because if a fatherly figure within a school system or a teacher can be that for a student, even in yesterday's video, when I was talking about that girl who's busy eating funny things and stuff, it's the same thing. It's to say, stop putting or relinquishing the responsibility on social media. Put the responsibility back on people that know her. Who is next to this child? A teacher. If the child is raised by a grandmother, the grandmother has nothing to do with social media, because we know, especially in the village, that's mostly the case. Now, the reason why I'm highlighting that aspect of favor with men, how we relate to our community, growing with friends, all of that stuff, is that everything has been made financial, a transaction in church. Because they don't want to have to tell you how all these other relationships contribute to that. I remember one particular day we were studying, I was studying this with Tamara. We're studying why is it that relationships, partnership relationships fail because of the strains in other aspects of family. Because you might have your child, your sisters, your brothers, and all this. So you see, these relationships mostly don't care about how you feel. They just come and say whatever they want. They do whatever they want, whatever. Now, the one relationship that is heavily weighted on emotion is your relationship, your mjolo, your marriage. That's why you see a lot of relationships fall apart if there is a miscarriage, loss of a child. Like you listen to Minnie Lamini and their husband. It's the same thing. Once there was a death, someone passed away in the family, it weighed so much that the relationship that is heavily based around your feelings is the one that suffers. You see, that's a subject that they don't talk about. They don't talk about how other relationships affect this relationship. And so that was one particular subject that we were studying with Tamara as one of the contributing factors of why relationships nowadays, they're all just divorces, because there are these aspects where we don't deal with, where a person comes stressed by other people who don't care how you feel. Now, because this relationship between me and you, who is married and we are dating or we are whatever, we are courting, what do they call it? Courtshiping. Because this one is based on feelings. It fails because now our feelings are very much imbalanced. It's no longer, because another one is a little bit thing. And so that's another thing also that we were talking about. This aspect of other relationships contributing towards favor have been thrown away. When they talk about relationships within the space of marriage, building relationships, they want to teach about sex. That's it. They feel like sex, that's it. They feel like money, that's it. You can figure these two things out. But this type of relationship, like, I'll give you another example. I'm an example person today. I have a friend. He just got robbed yesterday. I'm not kidding. Eh? So he was robbed yesterday. I want to show you what I mean about. This friend of mine was robbed yesterday. I'm talking about yesterday. They robbed him his phone. They took his car. Ne? You understand? Now we are in a group. It's a group of us. My friends, very close friends. From the time when I got born again, there's about 5-6 of us. The moment we found out that he was robbed, we were like, okay, where is he? Let him send a picture. He sent a picture. When he sent a picture, we started joking about how he just lost his car, but he's fine. He's rich in Christ. Now, it's tough love that actually it makes one relax. We just relax like that. Nah, relax, Uskawara, you work hard. You are a hard worker, But that's the kind of relationship we have with this guy. Now, if you were to meet the person, you would relate to the person very differently. Oh my God, did you contact the tracker company? Did you call the phone company? What? Instead, guys in the group were joking about, even insurance might not pay. But that form of relationship, what you find is that even him, he was now sending pictures of himself posing in funny places, like, after effects. Why? That relationship actually helps one get through with life. So you have friends like that. Do you get me? And so why am I putting it alongside this subject of money in church? Is because these other relationships have been pushed away. And we've built this unhealthy relationship with church only. Church only. We have built this unhealthy relationship with church only. That's why if you have one day which is a holiday, any day that there's nothing happening, the church will do a service on that day. We don't have such things where we are like, what? Next week it's what do you call it? What do they call this one where your partner? Valentine. We don't have initiatives which say in church, say, you know what? It's Valentine. People are going to be out and about, We don't say, find a couple that is not doing well. You and your wife, take them to lunch, take them to dinner, whatever. Just make their day bright. We want to take that and bring and make a church service. We take it and we make a church. Everything has translated to church service. You see, the relationship, not that people don't get me wrong, not that people don't build relationships in church. Actually, for most people, the only friends they have are in church. Yeah? So much that there are people that don't know their neighbor, that know everyone in church. Because you find that people go to work, they come back, they only know people in church. They go to church Wednesday, they have a service, so you find that people mostly know. But we need an area which recognizes that your life outside is what creates converts into church. That's why you heard me saying we need to make a commitment to building a catalog of gospel tracks, gospel tracks, these things that actually lead people to Christ, or leading evangelism tools, basically, which this channel is entirely an evangelism tool. Basically, it's like a school of evangelism, the entire channel, because it's just telling you what's wrong, and stuff like that. This has created a too much dependency on church. You see, when you read, I don't know if you guys hear me. let me show you a verse that explains what I'm talking about. Let me show you a verse that explains what I'm talking about. Because this particular thing that I'm talking about here, this is why the pastor can say, call your neighbor. You see, the pastor doesn't need to tell us to call our neighbor. If he is calling his neighbor, you see, if the pastor is doing his duties of also evangelizing and bringing people to church, so some pastors don't know how to evangelize. You'll be very shocked. Very, very shocked. They don't know. Because they are too shoulders high. They just, I'm a man of God. That's it. Pele lapo, come to church. That's it. They don't know how to convince. And the Bible says, blessed is the one who knows how to win souls. So that's why I'm saying it's very important for us to start such streams. Okay, we are going towards May now. I think we need to start on thingy. I saw one and I said, we're supposed to start with it with tomorrow. We just haven't had time. They said write a paper for what. But I want us to start those things now. Educating a person. How does a conversation go from average talk to the gospel? How do you turn that conversation? How do you? And then we bring all the materials that actually contribute to that. Let me show you what I'm talking about, like a verse that actually says that. Because someone might think, Ricky is talking about his own version of church. No, a church is actually an equipping place, not a hospital. No, we don't go there. People say, we go to church. But, okay, no, wait, let me just show you the verse. This verse, it's a very popular verse, but sometimes this verse gets lost. It gets lost in the conversation. I want you to see this verse. Look at what it says. Oh yes, Asmila is saying exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I said I wanted us to do in-person meetings, because in in-person meetings, that's the things that we must communicate. What kind of people do you have in this community? What kind of people? You do a slight demographic. That's how they tell you to do in-person research studies. Okay. I was very big on that, by the way. Like, you have no idea. Sure you are. I was very big on such things, like studying what kind of a group am I going to? What kind of people am I likely to meet in this particular area? And atheists, am I likely to meet atheists? Like, if you're doing evangelism in Braamfontein, you know what kind of people you're going to get in Braamfontein. If you're doing studies in, okay, let me just make sure that there's no personal information here, because once you put it on the internet, you can't get it back. All right. Okay, that's good. All right. Let me show you this thing. It's something that I had to learn. Like I told you, when I started doing apologetics, one of the things that I became very much aware of was that I had a very quiet personality. I needed to work on my personality, because my personality is not just television screen. It's like, I was a very quiet guy, spoke like this. I didn't even move, So you will see right here, tutorials, right? And then you'll see right here, audience growth. So you see, I got tons and tons of classes of audience study. These are audience study classes that I got from Skillshare, what you name it. Okay, so I went onto all these platforms that actually teach you about audience studies. Now, by audience study, we mean what kind of a person you're likely talking to. Those type of things. Yeah, demographic study. Okay, when I'm talking to a person like this. So these classes that you saw, that I just showed you there, those are classes that help me talking to a person. Like I know, like they're just talking about study of a person, of course, demographic, psychographics, all these things. But it helps you frame what kind of a mindset that person has and figure out how you have a conversation with such a person. Okay, a person like this is likely not going to like talks about money, because they feel like they're successful, And so a person like this, so when you're talking about prosperity gospel fits to a certain model, right? But then when you're talking to a person like this type of a person is like this type of person. So those type of things are very important. But a lot of churches don't do that. They don't equip people for meeting people, or they don't equip people to, because that's what the Bible tells us to do. Let me show you the verse. Let me show you the verse so that before we go on here. So it's Second Timothy chapter number 3, very popular verse. It says, "For from the infancy you have known the Holy Scriptures." Okay, so from your young age you've known the Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation. Meaning you are able to know how to turn a conversation. That's what Baptists, a lot of Baptists actually do. When they preach the gospel, they preach it so that people can know how to maneuver their conversations into such areas. Unfortunately, our bazalwani, our keyboard, our KZN, there isn't that. That's why I appreciate it when I'm there, but you don't get much from that because there is too much excitement for us to come into a point of actually narrating how to get a person through. So a lot of people, that's why you hear that there's that pastor who grills pastors. I don't know if you've seen the videos. They're very popular on YouTube and Facebook. He grills pastors on what they believe. And some of the pastors can't answer because they've never questioned really at the core of what they believe. So it says, it makes you wise for salvation through the faith in Jesus Christ. And it says, all scripture is God-breathed and is useful for. Okay, so sometimes we talk about correction and stuff like that. That's one area, for correction. So error in morality, error in doctrine. For training in righteousness, upright living or uprightness. Okay, so look at the reason, so that the man of God, all of us, you understand, man doesn't mean you, pastor, so that the man of God may be complete. What does complete look like? Fully equipped for every good work. So which means every other aspect of life outside is influenced by what I learned and I was equipped by when I go out. So when you look at a video by Church Reality, it's equipping you information by which when you meet a Sangoma, when you meet a ZCC, when you meet, I'm giving you ammo. I'm giving you ammo to know where to start. If a person comes to you and says, no, yeah, now he's ZCC, he's a Zion Christian Church. First question, is it Christian though? You know, you say it's Zion Christian. Is it Christian? Or it is a religion, but it's not Christian? Which one is it? You see, now you've started a conversation about the division of doctrine. You know, no, as we are loving people, I'm not questioning whether you are loving people. I'm asking, is it Christian? You know, because they can easily go, you know, peace, hoto, you know, they can go that route. But then you are not, you are able to ask a question because you passed school. Doesn't mean that this aspect you'll be very good at. You know, we used to do debate in school and stuff like that, but we didn't realize that debate is actually evangelism. It's evangelism because people have strange questions out here. My bad, I've not been reading the comments. What's wrong with me? Enrique, since I discovered was deliverance, I refused to see and biblical things and prioritize the needy. As we grow, so we grow in such areas, having small groups with leaders that work together at a close range. Definitely. That's why the in-person studies are supposed to be. Okay. I hope we'll be able to start them. We didn't start them back then because we did that story, what, and then there were just funny messages, you know. So I was kind of letting that die down. I will then establish it thingy. I did get a ministry phone again, and so I will publish the new number because that one is completely out. And then we'll go back into then provinces. So provinces by province, and then we'll start doing the in-person studies and stuff. So, and all of those studies will record and we'll see. Maybe it will be studies for members and stuff like that. If it is in your city, it's in your city. But if you are a member on the channel, then maybe those will be members' content or something. You play the keyboard. I don't know. What do you mean? This was they want to even gift. They want to be given gift to satisfy. The thing is, that verse that I was talking about. There was a verse that I was talking about earlier on that I said. Verses that they actually use. Okay, I'm gonna come back to this particular subject before we actually close it off, right? Proverbs 11. Now, this particular aspect of study, it's not, for some people it's very far because they're still trying to settle in and finding a good church, right? And so they're still there. They are not yet even ready to talk about church structure, like proper church structure. Nowadays you have a pastor, and the pastor goes and he selects his deacons and stuff. When you read the Bible, that's not how you conduct the election of elders. Maybe we'll grow to a point where we have like a associated churches, church realities association churches, churches that are in order. When there is error, we know how to get there and say, hey, Chief, we don't know what you're doing over there. And so the election of deacons within a church congregation was done by local people. And so the people will be the ones that actually say such and such is of good reputation. That's why when he puts a bishop is of this person, is this kind, is this kind. This is the criteria they used to judge whether the person is fit for the position. So when they elected the person, everybody else, it's not the pastor that does that. Everybody else, he might put up candidates, and then out of the candidates, they say, nope, 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 yes, this one. You don't see that. And so the church's role, if you're reading this particular verses here, okay, the verse is very clear. It's to equip. The church's role is to equip so that the man of God is ready for every good work. So you see, right now, they have this particular thing where everything is related to church. So if it be favor, there's no favor within the workplace. No, you come to church, we bless you so that in the workplace, so that you can conquer the weight of your anointing that you carry. May God there conquer the workplace and what, like that's the kind of thing that we just kind of give. Just get to the workplace and pray, it's not equipping the believer to be of effect in those areas or anywhere else. So every single event that we do it in church. Every single thing that they have in the world, we have it in church. They have a celebration, we'll have our own. They have June 16. We have a version of June 16 in the church. So everything, bring it here. So what it does is that it makes everything about the Bible, about church. I don't know. Do you guys get what I mean? I don't even think I should read the other verses. I have an entire Bible also on here, but I don't think we should go there, because I feel like it's a very important aspect that we have lost, because everything has been made about coming to church service. Everything is about coming to church service. It doesn't have an aspect where you have friends who you're growing with. It doesn't have an aspect, your Jonathan. You don't have your Jonathan aspect. You don't, because you are always here with us praying and then you go back home. You are here with us praying we read, we study, and then you go out. You rush back into church again. We don't have days where we're like, you know what? This one day of the week, we're just out there. So if we are saying it's this particular holiday, we are out there strengthening our affiliations in the community, or those kind of things. We don't have that. So that's why we have a very imbalanced church. We have people that are extremely emotional about their past because everything about their life evolves around going to church. It doesn't evolve around actually living the Christian life, being a part of that community. That's what James rebukes. So when you read James, that's why it's very funny when you read thingy and you look at the Old Testament, the way they want to apply the Old Testament. The Old Testament is very much about family and community, less about they made Christianity about going to church. Maybe I don't I don't know. Oh my goodness. Called to be witness and ambassador. Exactly. You see, so it's a strange one. It's a very strange one. That's why I'm saying, you see, we don't have an aspect of us being involved in the community. If there is a good ground, if they teach about giving money for good ground, church is good ground. Now, yes, the Bible does talk about giving to a brother within the faith. Yeah, by the way, let me find that verse. He doesn't say about giving to church. How did I just remember that verse now? And so okay, wait, let me see. Oh yes, it's Galatians. It's Galatians chapter number 6. Galatians chapter number 6, verse number 10. This is real. When the Bible says real religion, in James, it says real religion. Is it not visiting those in the hospital? Notice, it's not going to church. Real religion, it's going to visiting the homeless, clothing the, taking care of the widows. Don't let them go into depression because the old woman doesn't know what to do. She's now by herself. Visiting them. The Bible says that is that not good religion? So notice within James version, it's not going to church. Good. I'm not saying don't go to church. Don't misquote me. This is an aspect. This is why everything is transactional. It's transactional because, you see, that's why they don't like that verse. Because, okay, let's go back, Basala. Let's go back to that verse. If you think about this verse, right? If you think about this verse, remember, whatsoever you sow sparingly, you will reap sparingly. Whosoever gives generously will reap generously. Each one should decide how to give, not out of regret, not out of compulsion, but for God loves a cheerful giver. Okay? God has, listen to what the verse then goes on to say. For God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work, so as it is written. Then he goes further and he says, he has scattered abroad his gifts to the poor and his righteousness to the. So notice he embroils all these other things. He says, now, who supplies seed to the sower and bread? I'm reading from my head. Forgive me. That's why sometimes I have people reading with me. Now he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your store to seed and will increase the harvest of your righteousness. Notice it's not in one area, it's not the pocket. He doesn't just increase this area, there is also increasing your harvest of righteousness. So they make it, you see, because once you get to that part where it is now involving righteousness, this tells you it's your involvement in community, how they know you. I'll just give you a funny example. This just happened like earlier on when I was coming into the building. So when I went to buy food, I met this guy. Huge respect. He doesn't know me from the channel or nothing. Funny enough, whenever he was in the shop, I'll always be in the shop. Or when he's somewhere, just maybe on the street, I'll appear right there. And he was always short. You know, I was always short with 5 rand, always short, 10 rand to buy a time. So he would always ask me. Bear in mind, the guy is older than me, but he calls me uncle. Hey, they've aged me. So you always call me uncle, always. So today when I'm coming in, he's drunk. he's a bit woozed out. And so he's very, very shy. He just goes shy completely. Like, hey, right, uncle. Like, I'm good. Where are you going? Because he's going out. It's about 6. So he's going out. I'm like, where are you going? You see, if you saw the way that guy responded to me, you would have seen he was responding to his parent also. Even when I was leaving, the security guard had to ask me, are you related to the guy? Why is he so? Because I asked, where are you going? It's late. I was like, no, I'm just going to sit with my friends, The way he was responding, I just ended up laughing. Because why? You see, when he reflects his life and he reflects it on mine, it kind of makes him feel shy. Like he feels like he's doing something wrong just on the basis of how he's seen me live mine. You get me? So how he sees me as he just like there's no. If you see him, you will swear I'm telling you, he's older than me. The guy is older than me. And so I asked him, where are you going? He said, no, I'm just going here to stay. I'm like, it's late. Joburg is dangerous. I'm telling you, I was laughing when I was coming back inside because I was like, the way he was responding, it was as if it's because you see that aspect there. Let me go back there. See that? He increases the harvest of your righteousness. So people start to see you as a point of reference of upright living. This is not church. It's not. This is not how you live in thing. It's how you live in the society, in the community. So when you read these verses, the very same verse that's talking about giving sparingly, and all those things. Notice that the verse also puts it there, so that you can be. It's of good. Jesus Christ. He says. There, verse 8. God is able to make all grace abound, so that in all things, even in your personal life, having all that you need, you will abound in every good way, everywhere, in every other. This is not going to church. This is relationships outside. So when they make it about these transactions, money, come, we will bless you. See, they make all our relationships evolve around church and pastor. And the verse is not saying that. The verse says we are equipped in church to go out and have this fruit show to the world. The building manager had to send me a message. Please stop letting these kids into your house. Because these kids, they will come and sit here. They say, hey, some of these kids are starting to steal. I said, they don't steal at my house. They sent a warning. Please don't, because you will start complaining to us. Because when those kids were here, they were not doing funny things in the building. It's meant to reflect outside. So the problem, the thing that I want to highlight, the reason why they hate verse number 7 going forward is that it applies our life outside. When we talk about good sit, now that particular verse that I said, there is an aspect of giving into church. Ne? Let me show you that verse before I forget. I mean, I have a tendency of thing. It's Galatians chapter number 6, verse number 10. It says, let us not grow weary in well-doing. Ne? So let's not grow weary of well-doing. So the same way he just told us, to give sparingly and not hold and what he says, don't do it out of need or compulsion. Do it because you've decided in your heart. Ne? Now you add Galatians. Galatians says, don't get tired of doing good. He says, for in due time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Okay. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, especially to those of the family of faith. So right there, the Bible tells you that there is a benefit to doing good to a brother in the faith. So yes, don't get tired of doing good. Everyone, okay? Everyone, whether be Jew, Gentile, Sangoma, don't get tired of doing good. Now, when he says don't get tired of doing good, should a Sangoma be stranded doesn't mean that you can't give them money to get money for transport. Because, hey, they'll bewitch my money. You don't get tired of well-doing all round. See what the letters I am using to write to you in my own handwriting and so forth. So that verse there puts in that day. Now notice, that's not saying the pastor. Now we buy a fridge every year for the pastor. We buy a gift for the pastor. The relationships in church nowadays are very not what the Bible is saying. These people have changed this thing. And Barcelona, this one, now I want to just say, at my church, it's not like this. Ne? At my church, it's not like this. So there is an entire, like even in the announcement, you want to do good, it is contributed here. When it is contributed here, those that have needs must announce it that day. They must go there and say they have a need in this area, They go and get help. Those that are struggling with school fees, they go make an application. This year, they gave 5 bursaries. Things like that. I'm talking about, it's not just give the pastor. So the way these people have changed this thing is, it just shows you they don't know the Bible. They don't actually look at the Bible for reference. When the Bible even says that they had all things in common, I'm not saying that, that's the context we should use. They had a situation that made them to be like that, okay? That they were not able to participate in the economy by the period because the Jews had completely blocked the Christians, right? So that's the reason why they ended up in such a situation. But should a situation arise within church, should it not be that the tithes, all these offerings that people are paying and giving to the church, should it not take care of that? No, rather the pastor would pray for you, pray that God will give you a job. Yeah, the person, until then, anything. Churches should be the ones that open shelters. I went to one church, they actually have 3 types of shelters. It's in Sandton. It's a big church in Sandton. They had shelters for kids, they had shelters for teens, and they had a shelter for the elderly. And they had a warehouse for food. And they did a charity drive every single week. And every week they give an update to the church. It's a very interesting one. I differ with them theologically in certain areas and stuff, but they have that aspect of it. They report to the church every single week. In the announcement, they tell you, this week we were doing this, next week we were doing this one. This week we spent this much. for fuel for the truck going to so. They do. So the relationship in the church reflects to the outside. James was about that. That's why James says, when he says faith without works is dead, he was not saying salvation. Some people who don't reason Bible, they made it about that. The verse is talking about activity of the believer in the world. And so every single time we are talking about giving. Like you come here, you if I was your pastor, we'll be talking about, Bazalwane, we just finished month end. The internet in this place, we are paying roughly 500. The rent is like 4,000. The food of the men of God for the studio is like 2,000. And so I don't know, we need a budget of about 6,000. And so let us see your seed. Let's sow a seed. I'm at work like all of you. Okay. This is much like a church, because I am paid because by you people, not by donation. I'm paid when you watch the videos. Okay. Yes. So when you share the video, consider it as giving offering. Okay. Yeah. So that's why you don't hear me here asking donations and what, because I work just as much. Okay. So when you want stories that happened on the day, something a little, you can see it as entertainment, but for me it's really rebuking false doctrine. That's me working. My work is the Bible, which is a privileged job. I don't want to lie. Okay. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I am working. God placed me there to work there. So I can't then, on top of that, now because, hey, Ricky has figured, hey, I must buy a car. Let's raise a seed for the men of God. I think pastors are very... Paul says, lest I hinder the gospel. Many pastors don't know what that means. They don't know. There is such a thing as hindering the gospel by money. Like when you request money, you hinder the message. Paul says, do I not have the right to ask of that? But he says, I did not do it because why? Least I hindered the message. So they've hindered the message because they have put themselves as priority. Should a pastor have a problem? Quickly, let's get rid of the problem. Should they... I was telling my cousin is in a church. The church has not grown nothing. The pastor doesn't evangelize. He doesn't do nothing for 6-7 years. The church has been like that. It has had 10, 15 members. It has always been like that. And now you wanted a salary. And I'm asking, from where? Where is he going to get the salary? Because the headquarters of this church does not do that. They're still busy concerned with giving gifts to the bishop. This church structure, so most of these church structures, okay, I'm not talking about all. Most of these church structures are very toxic. It's people who go there because they are looking for a job. So it's very unbeneficial. When you look at what the Bible says, your favor is not when you give it in church. It says that it is a blessing when you do give in church. But your favor is your interaction in the world. So they make everything transactional. So sparingly give money to the church. They make it about that because it's transactional. Your relationship with them is transactional. And that's not what it's supposed to be. There are aspects of your life that have favor outside of church. Outside. That's the thing they don't like. So that's what I wanted to show us today. I wanted us to look at that there. To remember, Basalan, there are aspects of what we are dealing with right now. I hope our churches grow to address all these things. The church is not supposed to be focused on the pastor. Now when the pastor does what, that's why all these charlatans come here. They sell us oil, because the relationship with the pastor will grant me favor, will grant me a blessing. No. The blessing of a parent can do that. I have a friend, he owns a security business. I wanted to interview him. Hey, it's just that he's too busy. He has a private security business. That man, you will never see a picture of him. Actually, I did speak about him. If you watch the video I made on Mampincha's funeral, yeah, go watch that video. You will see. I say, hey, leadership. Yeah, that guy who was singing a gospel song at Mampincha's funeral. You check his social media, you will never see a pastor praying for him. He's a believer, he's a Christian. You will never see a pastor praying for him, but you will always see his grandmother praying for him. Every time he goes home, he kneels before he leaves his grandmother's house. See, those aspects we don't know. Because the relationship is transactional in church. Bring money to church. Try paying tithe to your parent. Pay tithe to your parent. Try it. If it builds an unhealthy relationship, pause. Some people are not used to money. Don't judge them harshly. Some people are not used. They see money, they just go too crazy. Hey, calm down. They start making demands. Then you have to pause it and really educate them. Excuse me. Pause. So, Bazalani, that's the thing that I wanted to talk about. There are aspects of these relationships that are in church that have nothing to do with church. He that finds a good wife finds favor with God. When do we talk about that? Favor in being married. That's why the biggest case is failed relationships on social media. People talking anyhow. He that finds. Notice that it doesn't say, it's not talking about the wife. No, because the wife's blessing is from the husband. He that finds a good wife finds a good thing, obtains favor with who? Who does the favor say it is with? Let's go back there. Notice, I just want to show one last one, then we are going. So you can see. And it's Proverbs 18. Proverbs 18. I'm going to go to the comments, then we're going to end it over here. It says, life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Okay? And then he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. It's literally put there. There are very few things where the Bible actually attaches a blessing to something. Marriage is actually one. There is reading the Bible where it actually attaches a blessing, and there is actually getting married. It obtains blessing. You obtain favor with God because now you have added a hand that God must provide you with to them. Get married. Like I told you, an example of that guy. Whenever he wants to do a business, he would go to his wife. I used to work with the wife. She had an office right next to mine. Whatever endeavors that guy would go into, successful. For her, she just does business just to keep busy. Just before he starts it, he will ask something from her husband, 100 rand, 20 rand. He adds it to whatever, he goes and does what he wants to do. Boom, it blows. Obtains favor. So that man has understood that principle very well. And so he does that. You can't play. So they have attached the blessing, the life, they've attached everything to church. And they've stopped these other aspects of relationship. Or these other areas which actually contribute. So That's the thing that I wanted to talk about today. So the reason why they hate that verse, if you're asking yourself, they hate that verse because it would refer you to all other good works. You'll notice that in the verse. You will notice that in the verse. Okay? You will notice that in the verse. Whosoever sows sparingly will reap sparingly. Whosoever sows generously will reap generously. Each one should give as he has decided in his heart. They don't like that part, that you have to give as you have decided, not of compulsion, not of regret, not of compulsion. For God loves a cheerful giver. For God will make you abound in all things. The other all things. It's not just one area. Then he goes on talking about the poor, gives to the poor and so forth. And then he talks about multiplication he says, you will be enriched in every way to be generous in every occasion. It's not just church, man. Just for those people that didn't see it, it's not just church. There are other areas. Woo! For this ministry is service, not only supplying the needs of the saints, but is also overflowing to the many expressing. Guys, let's stop it right there. Okay, so they have made this relationship with us in church about church. So they can read that verse about sowing sparingly. Then they make sowing in church. He's sowing outside. When I started the giveaways of the Bibles, you'll remember, I said I was tithing by Bible giveaways. You remember that? The other areas of my expansion is because God enlarges as per our hands' responsibility. So if I wanted to grow in other areas, I've grown in those other areas way more than I can mention. There are areas that I never thought, actually, this is an area that I don't see how will grow in this area. I've grown in those areas 10 times over. But where did I sow? I sowed into you, the ones that follow the channel. My tithe, living proof, my tithe was to you. I'll take that. It was not a tithe exactly because it was sometimes way over. So before I used to give to my mom, and then I stopped giving to my mom to give to you. God expands that because he sees I have responsibility and I've enlarged and I understand the responsibility. By understanding responsibility, that's where you grow. Because if you're always self-centered, I want to become a millionaire, I want to become, you are hindering. You are holding it back. As he says, I'm reading from the Bible giveaway. We'll bring them back. And so they have, you see, so if it was a certain church, they would have said, take that money, sow it into church, buy chairs, buy instruments. Pastor Lani, so directly, my interaction is with you. I'll go to a certain church. Yes, it's blessed and all this kind of stuff. But it's close relationships. There is no way that I would have started somewhere else without my gratitude to you. God brought me and you together for a reason, right? And your view, yeah, it was gratitude as well, but also expanding. So what they've done is they've made all transactions church. And it has lessened our effectiveness in other relationships. There is a prayer that your husband will do for you. You want to start something, you want to start a business, you want to work somewhere, you're going somewhere, let your husband pray for you. Some people have never heard their husband pray for them, but the pastor is on speed dial. Let the head of your house, he's the head of your house for a reason. That structure is not understood. You see? Because now it's pastor, church. So I wanted us to talk about that. And so because it helps them do the transactions. It helps them dictate whether we are blessed or we are not, whether we will expand or we will not, whether we are growing or we are not. They give us 7 titles of success, 7 things that your tithe will do. They give us those titles, then we get excited. And there's nothing. There are aspects of your relationships that actually open those doors. You talk to people, sometimes you relate to people, and those people bring all these areas of blessing or understanding. If you keep looking down on these other relationships and you are just church, go sow your church. You go sow your money to church. There's a friend of yours who's asking you right now, ish, my friend, pray about it, of course. Eh? Hey, my friend, I'm starting this thing right now. I want to say, yeah, no, I'll help you. And then you help that friend. You don't know where that friend will be tomorrow. You don't know where that particular one friend, you don't know where that friend is going to be. And before you know it, you have raised your favor. Your hand of favor has grown, has expanded. You guys remember Willie? Me and Willie came from way back. Willie was the one that I used to nag. If I didn't have money, Willie was the one I used to nag for internet money. You remember Willie? Willie was a waiter. Was a waiter. Huge testimony, that guy. Okay, he's a huge testimony. Was a waiter. And I would ask Willie, whenever I was wanted money to go to the internet, I'll ask Willie. He gives me 30 rand. I go buy 30 in the internet. I get all the videos and what. So that money that Willie was giving me to go and do my research landed up with me being here. Because I was researching what. If I didn't have a place to go to Wi-Fi, I would go to the internet for comfort. If my phone breaks, I'm dependent on the internet cafe. Now we are at a place where if Willie needs something, he can get it from me. There are stores, there are things that he stores in my flat right now. There are things he stores. His business. He has a business that runs. He's the guys that work for him, they store at my flat. Because I'm the closest access for the deliveries that his business gets. But had I been there and really not helped me go to the internet, with the tips that he gets from the restaurant, would I be here? God knows. I might not be here. But I've created, I'm just showing you in my personal life, ne? Yes. You can look in your own personal life. Which really? He's all way back. You were not watching the channel from way back, like 2020, 2021. I used to make videos sometimes with him. And so there are relationships like that become of a heavy benefit, of a huge benefit. And so we've discarded those type of friendships. Rasalani, no, we must be serious. We must be serious. We must be very serious. Because now, you see, everything. We are going to church, we are going to pray for blessings. What's that? We are going to pray for we are going to pray for breakthrough. What are you praying about? Okay. Let me tell you what I pray. I pray that I am patient. God doesn't need me to pray for breakthrough. We'll talk about that another day. God doesn't need me to pray for breakthrough. Am I saying God is late? That's what you mean when you say you need a breakthrough. You're saying God is late. No, pray that you are patient enough to see God's result. That's what I need patience for. Pray for my unbelief, because at that point you are trying from unbelief. Pray that you become patient, that God puts something in your hand that keeps you to that patience. So, because now you interpret, okay, why did it take you 10 years labor for you to be? Because during that period, God needed me equipped. I was equipped, now I'm here. If I got here too early, it would have been a bad timing. I had a channel all this while. You people could not find me. When I was well equipped, you are here. Relationships, build all this, right connection, right people. We've lost all of that. Church has become, we are going to pray. You pray about everything. There are things that literally just mean you have good relationships. Do you know how many times I was seeing someone just got, this other guy who just got hacked? Do you know how many times I've almost gotten hacked? Yeah, on this channel. But because I have friends in cybersecurity and stuff like that, I send them a screenshot. Hey man, do you see this thing? They look it over. I forward them the message. When they take that thing, they look at it, they say, no, don't press this link, delete it, what. Friends, you create friends. You don't need to pray about it. It doesn't need discernment. It just needs friends. Countless. So the Bible teaches us, it makes us equipped to handling these relationships. Let me go back to the comments and not keep you forever. I think I'm gonna build the particular study and finish on it, the favor one. We need to talk about these things. Relationships are very important. One of my very closest friend is a friend from childhood, from primary day. As we are working, like right now, we are working. Now you see monitors and screens and stuff. We are working on a certain business model together. We've been doing that for 10 years. We never gave up on it. We'll build it like this, it doesn't work. We'll build it like this. So tomorrow you see it working, you will think overnight. No, because you don't know what endurance, what we've endured doing all of those things. Now you'll be there at work. I'll be sending him screenshots. This is what's happening. This is what's. But he's a friend that I've lost his money. He's lost my money. We kept going to and fro. We go way back. The first time I saw a fancy place in Joburg was because of that guy. He's not a social media person, so I'm not saying his name. And so the first time I saw a fancy place, Santin, it was because of him. First time I ate at McDonald's, it was because of him. And when the first time I went on a trip with someone was him. It wasn't the family, it was him. Because there are things that he had done for me that no one would have gotten me there. And so today we can build together. You see, like if a person said, Ricky, can I be your trading buddy? No, I already have that. Go find yours. I'm talking about trading when I'm talking about building this. I have a trading buddy. I go way back with him from childhood. We didn't start today. We didn't start yesterday. We go way back to 10 years. Building relationships, healthy relationships. When he was in school, his family they would give him lunch money. He was in university, he went by. So they would give him lunch. He would take the lunch money he would give me to go and trade, and I would lose it. I lost the money. And so there is that close of a bond. Relationships. So these relationships are the ones that determine. He goes research, he finds things, he brings. He knows if he gives me something, he knows I will spend 40 hours on that thing. When he comes back to me, I'll give him an entire report. Oh, now we do this like this. Let's do it. Let's use it like this. Do you get what I'm talking about? Healthy relationships. Let me go back to the comments and then we'll end it, guys. I saw a comment that we have a time for Ministry of Reconciliation. That's a very important one. Yakov says 100%. You can 100%. Pastor BJ says leadership. It's been a super minute. Hey, it's been a long time, leadership. I missed a lot. Always watched after. Today I am on time. Thank God, leadership. Hey, it's been here a little bit. I didn't see the message earlier. I just saw that your message was a little bit. I think I was watching the topic then. Personally, I prioritize. Oh, I need to the yes. Be a good steward. What God and blessed in your hands and me, God and money, and all creation. Yes, amen. Leadership, amen. And Asmala quotes First Peter 4. First Peter 4. What is that? 10. First Peter 4:10. And it says, let me read it and then we be. A good steward in manifold gift. Is it that one? I saw a portion of it there. Show hospitality to every. Hey, thank you, leadership. A very important one. Show hospitality to one another without complaining. As good stewards of the manifold grace of God, each of you should have whatever gift he has received to serve one another. Oh, you see, it's not just the pastor. Thank you, leadership. Hey, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Okay. To serve one another, the gifts to be serve one another. It's not just the pastor. No, pastor, please pray for me. When did your husband last pray for you? And what other verse? Relationships building, say there, and look at my copy of the Bible here in Botswana. My leader. Hey, we have not done international yet. Maybe in the future when we do the next one. Remember, I said that we were just probably gonna do what do you call those things? Coupons. We'll buy coupons for people on Amazon. Then they'll just get the Bible. Unfortunately, Amazon is very expensive. So hopefully we'll find a cheaper alternative. Wisdom and patience are crucial in this pathway. Yes, leadership. You can say that again. Endurance. Okay, so that's the thing to pray about. When I pray about something, pray for endurance. God is not late. You are just impatient. You just remember that. Or you pray that God gives you something that keeps you. And when it comes, you can see it. Okay? You know, so in my personal journey, I saw in multiple times, I would have something else come. It's either I spent 2-3 years doing Islamic apologetics, 3 years at least. And then I spent 2 to 3 years, actually almost 5, is it 4 or 5, on salvation from 2014, 14, 15, 16. And then I started my New Testament studies. And so I was always preoccupied during that entire period. You left struggles and difficulties, but then you are patiently waiting, knowing you are doing something. Okay. Leadership, Njani. We are blessed leadership. We are blessed. Really, I never really got this destiny helper thing. Destiny helper is just a fancy code, honestly. It's relationships. You are not helped by one person. You're probably helped by 20, 30 people in order to push you towards where you might actually end up. And so by giving it a fancy word, now you're praying for that one thing. You're praying for the wrong thing. Good relationships and patience. Okay. That's the thing that we need. I've been chasing one and I got looking for deliverance, and I ended up at school and came back not delivered. I only got my deliverance when I prayed for myself, quote scriptures, casting out demons out of me. You see, you understood the most biggest thing was your foundation of salvation. Once you got that clear, these other things actually happen with that. And so this dependence is very unhealthy. This dependency is very unhealthy. And so thank you guys. I think we can call it quits right there. We need to have this balance. Okay, we really need to have this stuff balanced. There are aspects of relationships in the Bible that actually tell you the importance of all these other structures. You know, First John, whatnot. Maybe we might do it on the next one. Yeah, I'll need prayerfully think on that one. Because I do know a lot of verses that actually talk about that talk about all these other dynamics of relationships, whether it be family relationships. First John, I know it does deal a lot with that. It instructs the widows, it instructs the young widows, and then it tells you how that relationship should work. It's not devoted to the church, it's devoted to the elders in the church, or elderly ladies particularly. You know, nowadays it's the pastor. Pastor does everything. No. He says it's the church elders. Church elder, not just church elders, older ladies. Very particular. The younger men, he then instructs them towards the youth. He instructs them in a certain light. So I'll have to brainstorm all these verses and stuff like that as far as I can remember them. Then we'll come and then we'll just break it down further to show what I'm talking about. Because, you know, as I'm talking like this, sometimes it can sound like, sometimes, hey man, it just, they've taken too much. And so for us to reclaim our position, building the foundation back again, it's very important. All these relationships matter. They mean something. The instruction of the wife is from the husband, not the pastor. Things like that. This thing, man of God, it's your husband that instructs. That's why nowadays when they're advising on things that have nothing to do with nothing. They're advising should a younger man marry an older woman? That's nonsense. That's nonsense. You're advising nothing. That woman must understand a man, as long as he's a man, his role is over. Doesn't matter how older she is. But only an ungodly woman doesn't understand that. So when you're dealing with an ungodly woman, she will never understand that her age is never old. So when you hear such things, you are talking to people that are not wise in the word. But also the woman must also consider the wisdom of the man. And so, but these conversations of relationships, they go completely they go worldly. You hear pastors now talking about sexually compatible. That's worldly topics. I did two episodes on sexual compatibility, and I explained why biblically doesn't make sense. It's foolish talk. It's childish talk. If you haven't seen those videos, you can go back. Sexually compatible, is it bigger, what? All those topics, I handle those topics. I'll never go back to that topic because it's a childish talk. It's childish talk. These things, they mean to the aspect of relationships and all these things. They keep talking about these things that we can figure out. And the thing that we should talk about, they don't, you know. But anyways, y'all have a good one. I'll see y'all on the next week. Stay blessed. Some people's parents are struggling financially, but they are faithful. You see, struggling, battling. They are not sure if they will meet the rent this month. But that person in church, flying colors. Flying colors. You have a golden button. I know. So yeah, those things, that's exactly what I'm talking about. These relationships must be put in order. These things must be acknowledged, insert. That's why you've heard me saying countless times, lastly, if whenever a pastor doubted when I said that we are doing apologetics, my mother had given the blessing. And so my mother was in the background of my videos. In my old videos, you could hear my mom there busy laughing, commenting, adding comments in my videos. My mom gave the first blessing for my work. That's how it's supposed to be. Parents first. But sometimes, we understand our mothers. It's very difficult for them to know or fully understand what it is that we are going towards. So it can be difficult. It's not that they don't believe in you. Ne? Sometimes they just find it difficult to comparably to make sense of what you are trying to do. You live in a very different type of a world, and so also understand them. So y'all have a good one. Thank you very much. We'll continue it on next week, but I'll see, maybe we'll do a first small portion, and then we'll continue with the 613 laws that we spoke about before we start the series on the evangelisms and what. All right. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good one. Have a wonderful evening. Be effective. If you did went to church today, Shabbat Shalom. And if you're going tomorrow, have a wonderful Sunday. Greet my nieces and my little nieces. Next week. Y'all have a good one.